Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jake, the Scary Story Guy, and today we're talking about Weapons, Zach Cregger's new film in theaters, starring Julia Garner and Josh Brolin. And it's no secret that this movie has been getting a lot of buzz, probably more than anything in the horror genre since Longlegs. Nobody wants to get their expectations way up for something and then be let down, like you might have been for Longlegs. And that's why I feel a tremendous responsibility as the internet's most trusted voice in horror, I think that's indisputable at this point, to let you know just how pumped and jacked you should get for this movie. Does Weapons live up to the insane hype, or should you keep your expectations low? Over the next few minutes, I'll break it down for you, and I'll do it without spoiling anything. Frankly, it's going to be such incredible content that liking this video and subscribing to this channel immediately really seems like the least you could do. Alright, so Weapons is the story of a town in which 17 children, all from the same elementary school class, mysteriously go missing in the middle of the night. And throughout the movie, we follow several different characters, including Justine, the teacher of this ill-fated class, and Archer, the father of one of the missing children, as the truth of what happened here starts to be revealed. Now, obviously, this is an impressive cast and a really intriguing premise, but there were a couple other factors working in this movie's favor that really got the hype train rolling at full speed. First, the director. This is Zach Cregger's follow-up to the 2022 film Barbarian, which wasn't really on anyone's radar, but ended up being an incredibly good time. It got rave reviews and ended up making like 10 times its budget. Secondly, there was a pretty big bidding war for this script. It was the hot new thing in Hollywood. Everyone wanted it. I think Jordan Peele in particular was pissed off that his company didn't get the rights to it. It was a whole big thing, which really only happens for a script that everyone knows is a sure thing, right? That everyone involved in this project seems to have known what they had here. You watch interviews with Julia Garner and Brolin, and they're like, yeah, I was 10 pages into the script and I knew I was going to do this. And folks, straight from the Scary Story Guy himself, I am happy to report to you that every good thing you've heard about this movie is 100% true. Weapons is, well, it's a bit like Barbarian in the sense that it almost feels like a rebellion against the elevated horror trend of the last decade or so. Nothing against elevated horror. I've been known to enjoy a slow burn from time to time, not to mention Hereditary and The Witch are genuinely among my favorite horror films ever made. But I will admit, the horror genre has become a bit brooding of late. It's like all these directors have been trying to out-grief each other. Like whose burn can be the slowest, right? Whose metaphor can be the most tortured. But I think at its root, the horror genre captivates audiences because it's fun, right? And that's not to say every horror movie needs to be primarily fun all of the time, but it is just like, you know, you watch Weapons and you remember, oh yeah, this is the good shit right here. Cregger's direction is stylish and fast-paced and tons of fun. I mean, the camera seems to be always moving. There's always something going on to keep your interest. He's great at playing with angles and things that are in the background. Think that moment in Hereditary where Toni Collette's like hiding in the ceiling, but quicker and more action focused. There's almost a Sorkin-esque quality to the way he directs. If you've seen The West Wing or The Newsroom, you're familiar with the walk and talk thing. And stuff like that is happening here a lot, and it really serves to feel like the movie is being physically propelled forward, even in the slower, more dialogue-driven moments. He also has a phenomenal command of the movie's tone. If you've seen Barbarian, you're aware that it undergoes a pretty dramatic tonal shift halfway through the movie, from just being a pure suspense movie to just pure camp insanity. Here, he's shifting seamlessly between tones several times in the same scene. It's really uncanny how this movie is able to go from like, oh, you know, that's spooky, to that's goofy, to holy shit, what the fuck, as quickly as it does. And as for that last tone I just mentioned, yeah, Weapons has its moments, for sure. This movie delivers some serious scares without ever taking itself too seriously. There's one moment in particular where there's like a huge jump scare and then a huge laugh line right after, and I was like, I don't know if I've ever seen an audience jump from screaming to laughter so quickly. I also want to shout out the performances. This is sort of an ensemble cast. The film is presented in different chapters, all focused on different characters, but undoubtedly the two main ones are Julia Garner and Josh Brolin. I've got season tickets to the Julia Garner show. I'm so happy she's been doing all these horror movies because I feel like she fits the genre really well. Sort of the tough exterior, vulnerable interior thing that we saw her do so well in Ozark, I think also makes her a really compelling horror character. And by the way, if you haven't seen Apartment 7A, which is a prequel to Rosemary's Baby, of all things, that came out a couple years ago, it didn't get great reviews, but I really liked it, and I thought Julia Garner was very, very good in it. So the more you know. Josh Brolin, also really good here. He sort of has this evolution as the film progresses from like just a father consumed by grief, so he's failing at everything and his life is falling apart, to just becoming like a hyper competent, hyper with it dude as he starts to realize like maybe I have a solution to my grief, and it's compelling stuff. There's also one more performance that's arguably the best one in the movie, but I have no idea how to talk about it without spoiling things, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. And one more thing I'm gonna keep vague just in the interest of avoiding spoilers, but obviously a great film needs to stick the landing. I can honestly say I have a really hard time imagining even a single viewer that would not be satisfied with the ending to this movie. In fact, I would go so far as to say that the final 10 minutes of Weapons is my favorite finale to a horror movie in recent memory. Now, as far as negatives go, it's not a perfect movie. It is a bit long. I think it comes in at 2 hours and 10 minutes about. I never felt bored or like it was dragging, but it's just, you know, that is kind of pushing it for a horror movie, and perhaps there were some side characters, side plots that maybe we could have used a little less time with. There's also a choice made with voiceover narration, particularly in the very opening and closing moments of the movie, that historically I haven't been a huge fan of voiceover, and I was like, this isn't exactly changing my mind. And I haven't rewatched it yet, but I do suspect this might be best as a first-time watch, right? Some movies improve on rewatch. I'm not sure this is one of them, but honestly, I just don't have that much bad to say about Weapons. I mean, unquestionably, this was my favorite horror movie of 2025. This is probably just my favorite movie period of the year so far. In fact, I'd at least put it in the conversation for the best horror movie of the 2020s. It's that good. Cregger's direction is so exciting. The cast is additive to the material. It's funny, it's scary, it's such a wild ride. I'm gonna give Weapons 4.5 stars out of 5, and I'm gonna recommend that you drive probably over the speed limit to your nearest theater to see it as soon as possible. Alright guys, that about does it for me today, but please stay tuned for more spooky content coming soon. And as always, thank you for watching this video, and here's hoping you survive to see the next one.